Morning, Borough family. Actually, by the time this goes out, it'll probably be evening or afternoon by the time I edit it. I just want to do a video on the kind of like the updates that's happening, the ins and outs, the transfers, the rumours and things like that. For those who don't know and haven't met me at games and stuff, my name's Al. I am co-founder and admin for the YouTube channel and help run all the social media side of things with the other co-founder Pete for the Middlesbrough Southwest Supporters Club. So if anyone who would like to join our Facebook group, our Twitter or Instagram or this, please subscribe, like the videos, share it with all your Borough friends so we can get some comments going. Now, I have no doubt on some of the stuff I'm going to say people massively disagree with. I've already had a couple of, I would say, friendly banter about my opinions on a couple of things that have been rumoured to be happening, but we'll get to that in that part of the video. Firstly, for anyone from the northeast who's watching, apologies for the Jannah accent. Unfortunately, I'm stuck with it, but you don't need to worry. I like Borough as much as you do, so no issues. First thing I want to get into is outs from the club. Obviously, we've let Sobrin go out on loan. Now, I really thought last year when he got brought back, he was going to take the number one off Joe Lumley. Instead, Daniels came in and took it. Sobrin, he looks a very good keeper. He looks very assured, but obviously Chris Wilder and his backroom team didn't necessarily think he was ready for the step up yet. So again, he's been loaned out. He's gone to Swindon and hopefully he has a good season there like he did last year when he was loaned out. Next person was another young keeper that's been loaned out, Zach Hemming. He's, I believe, gone back to Scotland. I can't actually remember the club off the top of my head. So yeah, he's gone out. Again, it's another good move. Young players do need to go out on loan. They do need the experience. And obviously we've lost on loan to Reading, our number one from last season. Now, Joe Lumley, he was, the best way of putting it is, he was shit or champagne is probably the easiest way of putting it. He pulled off some amazing saves, but then the next minute he's running out of his area, 20 yards outside his area, missing the ball, or he's trying to save the ball and just tapping it down in front of someone. It's, when you're going for promotion, you can't afford to have those errors, so I get why he's gone out. Hopefully he gets some confidence back when he's at Reading. But I don't know, I suppose we're going to see what's going to happen there. And we've also lost Olusanya. He's gone to St Mirren on a permanent transfer, I believe. And again, this is one of the gambles that Warnock's paid off, thinking bring someone in from non-league and hopefully have the effect that Isaiah Jones has had. Fortunately, didn't seem to work out for him. Wilder's obviously come in. He's not a Wilder player. He's an out-and-out winger. And Wilder, as we all know, likes to play with wing-backs, which is why Jones has had to convert his game so much and has done very well doing that. So that's, as it stands at the moment, the outs. Then we've got the four guys who've been told they've got no future with Borough, where you've got Grant Hall. Never really took to it at Borough. He's come in, he's made a few mistakes and stuff. It could be a confidence thing, but they loved him at QPR, so something's obviously not worked out for him. And I wish him a best of luck wherever he goes, but unfortunately with the defence we've got, the four centre-backs now, he's never getting a game. It's the same with Nathan Wood, who also I haven't mentioned. He's also gone. He's gone to Swansea permanently. Again, I thought there was going to be big things for Nathan when he was coming through, and saw him in pre-season last year. And for someone young, he looked a bit of a unit, but unfortunately, I suppose it's different when you're playing against Saltash to playing against teams in the Championship. So maybe just Wilder's... I know he made a comment last year about his attitude and the fact that he had to knuckle down and make sure, and maybe he just hasn't done that. And Wilder's thought, you know what, let's cut our losses. They've obviously made some money on him. They've not said what. It's undisclosed. But that's the outs. Obviously, I said Grant Hall, he's been told he's got no future. Then Chuba Akpom's been told he's got no future. I'm not going to lie, I forgot he was part of the club. Forgot he was out on loan. I thought we had got rid of him last season. Yeah, Chuba doesn't really fit in with the way Wilder looks to play football. And for me, even when he did play for us, even when he was starting regularly, he seemed to lack confidence in front of goal. Even when he's been played week in, week out, and you can build the confidence, he just seemed to lack confidence. So it was probably the right decision to tell him he's not required. Then we've got Big Uche. Now this is one I'm more gutted about. Watching Uche last pre-season when Borough came down and did that like Devon and Cornwall trip that they were doing, Uche looked good. He was a handful. He scored in, was it 2 or all 3 of the pre-season games that they were down here? But he just looked decent. And then you look at a couple of the games he had for us in like his first Championship goal and things like that. He's got it in his locker. But he was definitely a Warnock-style player. Big man up front, get the ball into him, let him hold it up. Not so much for Wilder. So I can see where they're coming from with Uche. I'm hoping they get a bit of money for him. But he did show a bit when he was at Cardiff last season that he can play in the Championship, but you have to play to his strengths, which is knocking the ball up to him, which obviously Borough looking at doing the more like tippy-tappy football around the area, more like Wilder ball, as we like to call it. So I can see why he's going, although I am a little bit gutted about it, especially when at the moment we've got young Josh, who did brilliantly for his first season, and we've got Duncan Watmore. Now Duncan, the effort he gives is 1,000%. He's brilliant when it comes to that. Doesn't stop running. Quite a clever player. But with his knees, how many games is he going to play a season going forward? And that's something that's a bit worrying, especially when they're looking at getting rid of Big Uche. But then it brings us on to the last player, and another one that I'm a bit unsure. Personally, again, someone looked good pre-season last year and then got injured before they played against Plymouth, and that was kind of the end for playing with Borough, really, was Hayden Coulson. He was very good in pre-season, scored the goal of pre-season, like dancing in between a couple of players before volleying into the top corner. And it's just one of them. There's obviously something, he's probably a bit like Jed was, where there's a player in there, but it's getting that player out. And he went on loan to Ipswich and he had a lot of injuries last season. He didn't really do anything there. So I can see why Wilder's looking at him. I'm thinking, you've got Mark Bowler, you've just brought in Ryan Giles, and thinking he ain't going to play. So Wilder doesn't see him doing anything. Again, it's going to be another one of these who, is he putting the effort in training? Maybe that's another reason why Wilder wants him, because as Wilder said a lot of times, effort, commitment and everything else, he's not going to say, well done, you've got that. He expects you to have that. So I can see why Hayden Coulson's gone. That's pretty much the outs and stuff. I know another young keeper's just gone out on loan, and there probably will be other people from the under 23s. I wouldn't be surprised if you see someone like Civi go out on loan. Depending on if we get another midfielder, you could have Joe Gibson go out on loan. You could have Hayden Hackney go out on loan. These are players that I think will make it at Borough, but they need the experience and they need to be playing. Like, was it Hackney was at Scunthorpe last year? He probably needs to try and stay in the Championship if he can. Maybe if it's one of the teams that are going to be struggling at the bottom, then we'll see what happens. And it's the same for if Civi goes out on loan, and a few others that I've no doubt we will send out on loan. But the outs, to be fair, Wilder's probably got them bang on at the moment. And obviously with the release of Big Sol, and a few other players, Peltz, Taylor and stuff, I can see where he's going. He wants people who's got that engine that can run for 90 minutes, like your Howsons, like your Watmores when he's fully fit. That's the type of player that he wants. We'll go to the incomings now. For me, possibly the best bit of business we've done was getting Howson to sign that extension. Howson was outstanding last year. There are the odd game where at his age you are going to run out of legs every now and then. But to be as good as he was for the whole season and really with no one to cover him. I know Crooksy played a game in there. You could argue Paddy can play there. But even Warnock said Paddy's better in defence than he is in midfield, which is something we'll come on to a little bit later about that. So you've got Howson, that contract extension, 1 year only. I think he's going to be another one of these players that, as much as he was at Norwich and Leeds and stuff like that, he's going to be another Grant Ledbetter. Grant Ledbetter's a Mackham, but he loves Borough. He will. You could see that last year when they introduced him, when he came back and walked around the pitch and stuff. You could see the tears in his eyes and stuff. He loves the club through and through, which makes me delighted that he's back as a youth coach. And I think one day he will be Borough's manager. And I think Howson will go down the same route. I think he'll end up back at Borough somehow. May even be there helping out Ledbetter. Next season he could be a player coach or something. You never know with Johnny, but his effort that he puts in every single game is just unbelievable. That's exactly what you want from your skipper. So that was the best bit of business to me. The next bit, the next three signings that we have made so far, we have Ryan Giles coming in on loan from Wolves. Now this is going to be an issue for Bowler because this guy's going to be a nailed-on starter, which means Mark Bowler's got to up his game. And we'll come on to Wilder's comments in a minute about people needing a rocket put up on. And I think that's exactly what Ryan Giles is going to do to Mark Bowler. And you're going to look at it as Ryan Giles is going to be better going forward. He's going to be better at assisting and stuff. He's probably not got a rocket as a foot like Mark Bowler has, but the rest of the game, I'd imagine that's the reason he's been brought in. And reading comments from Wolves fans, they weren't happy that they've loaned him out. They're fed up with loaning out their good talent, they've said, and so that can only bode well for Borough. Then you've got Liam Roberts, who's came in on a free from Northampton. Players player, fans player of the year last year. Looks a tall lad. From just seeing little bits and bobs of him on Twitter, he looks like he commands the penalty areas. He looks like he's a great shot stopper. So hopefully, if he hasn't got the mistakes, then he's going to be pushing for that number 1 jersey sooner rather than later. But we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, it's a big step up for him coming from Northampton to playing in the Championship with Borough and playing in front of the Borough fans, who they'll get behind him, but he would never have seen anything like this before. So it's just how quickly he can settle those nerves if he's playing. He might just start off as a cup keeper, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. And then obviously the next bit of business was bringing in Dara Lenihan in from Blackburn. Now this is the exact type of person you want in your team. The Blackburn fans are absolutely gutted they've lost him, which is what you want to see. Sorry, Blackburn fans, don't mean it like that, but if you're gutted to lose him, that can only be good news for us. The only issue is, can he adapt to play to the left side of the three? Because else, it's a shootout with him in Dykesdale. And the way Dykesdale was finishing last season, it's going to be hard to get him out of the team. And no one's going to replace Fry in the middle unless some stupid offer came in and we had to sell him. So I think unless he can learn to play to the left side, we're still short of a left side centre-back. And this is my opinion. This is probably where the comments will go crazy in a minute. We've got Paddy Mcnair, but we'll get onto that. So far, great business. I'll go on to the rumoured other players coming in a minute. And by the looks of it, we've nearly done a deal for Stefan from Man City, who I would imagine would be coming in to be Borough's number one. But I've not seen much of him. The only game I saw of him was, anyone who watched it last year, was when he made the absolute howler and gave Manny a go. So hopefully he's learned from that and doesn't try stupid things like that. He's not in Man City now. We don't want him to play on the ball. We want him just to get it out. But we'll have to wait and see what happens with that one. By the time this comes out, Stefan may already have signed for Borough. We don't know. I'm filming this at 9 o'clock in the morning, so by the time I actually get around to editing it and uploading it, it's probably going to be 5 or 6 o'clock tonight. So we may have more signings. Some of these that I'm going to say in a minute, rumours, could come in. And as for outgoings, Jed could be gone. Now, Daniel Levy's obviously realised that you don't mess around with Steve Gibson when I'm only going to pay 10 million plus add-ons. Steve Gibson's like, no, you're paying 15 plus add-ons, or you're not having him. Levy's like, okay, we'll walk away. We'll look at buying this foreign lad. Not going to help with an English quota, especially when Conte's bringing in more foreign people. So I think Gibble knew that, and you don't mess with Steve Gibson. Let's face it, Derby did, and look at the state of them now. Yeah, Derby fans hate him, other fans will hate him, but he is, for Borough fans, he is the best chairman in the country. He's supported the club for all of his life. He's pumped so much money into the club as well, and things like this. He's going to make an extra 5+ million on Jed Spence purely because of how he's a good businessman. And I don't know how everyone feels. Let me know in the comments. Do you think 15 million's fair value, or do you think they paid 25 for the Brighton guy? Should it have been maybe 20? Or can we guess what the add-ons are? Is it going to be once he's played a certain amount of games? If he gets him into the Champions League, if he wins a trophy, if he gets called up by England, all of these could be add-ons. Could be a sell-on fee as well. It's anyone's guess, really. But 15 million to me is sound business. Would I like more? Yeah, of course I would. I would like 50 million, but we were never getting that. So it's sound business, and hopefully they reckon that'll be done before the weekend, which today's Friday, so you would imagine that could be wrapped up today. Next bit we're going to talk about is the comments that came out from Wilder the other day. His big names. Now, well, I don't know who those big names are, but he seems very confident when it comes to the big names. Now, someone I would personally like back at the club would be Ben Gibson. Borough through and through, and plays on the left side. Plays on the left side as a centre-back. So I would like to see Ben back. It might be more sentiment than anything. But let's face it, he gave everything for the shirt when he played for us, and he would do that again. He's a Borough lad through and through. His uncle owns the club. If you can get him, Fry, and either Lenihan or Dijksteel together, we ain't letting him many goes. So I'd like to think with some of the Spence money, we could possibly go after Ben Gibson, but it's whether that's priority. And then we'll look at the next thing, the other comments that Wilder made about, like, people need like a boat up the arse. They need a rocket sent up them. And I can think of 3 players. Now, this is where people are going to get annoyed. First one, as I mentioned already, Mark Bowler. Mark Bowler was nailed on left back for us last year, or not last year, the beginning of last year, shall I say, before he got injured. Came back from injury, looked off the pace, let's be honest. And I don't know, again, if it comes down to attitudes and stuff like that, but it got to the stage where Wilder was playing Neil Taylor. I think he tried Peltz there at one point, Tav there, rather than your first choice left back, which says to me they were always going to be looking to replace that position this year. So now with Ryan Giles, Bowler's got to pull his finger out, and I think that's part of what Wilder was getting at. Another player, which I hate to say, is Martin Pierro. Now, I'm one of these who we sign a South American and they are the next Juninho. It don't matter. I fall in love with them the second we sign them, even to the point that up here is a signed Martin Pierro shirt, and as you can see, a signed Marinelli shirt. Since Juninho, anyone who comes back or comes over from South America, including Afonso Alves, that shirt here, I am sure is going to be the next Juninho. Turns out it never happens that way. And Pete, as I've said before, the co-founder, just laughs every time. As soon as we sign a South American, he's like, oh, you're in. You're getting his name on your shirt instead. And I do, all the time. Stupidly fall for it. But saying that, before he had a nightmare of a season, new country, injuries. But watching him, I went to the Cardiff game last year, and watching him in that game, man of the match, hands down, best player on the pitch. Scored as well, scored his only goal. He just looked different quality. His through balls, his like intellectual passing of the ball, breaking through defence, that final ball that we miss a lot. He just looked head and shoulders above people. Then he got the injuries. Then he came back, and then Wilder actually started bringing him into the fold more. He came on against United and everything else, then got the big injury again and was out for a while yet again. Came back, looked off the pace, but saying looked off the pace, he came on for like 2 minutes for the rest of the season. So I was one of these, like, you're saying he's not match fit. How can he get match fit if he's not playing any moments in the match? And it's great playing for the under-23s, but it's not the same. So hopefully, with a full pre-season behind him, and the fact that he's come out and said he wants to fight for his place at Borough, his attitude's right straight away. He just needs to get on the page in pre-season, needs to hit the ground running and say to Wilder, I want this position. And another player, in my opinion, that's got to do it, and this is where people shout at me. People probably shout at Pierro, because I've seen comments of people saying he's terrible. Cut our losses. People saying, yeah, that was a good idea to loan him out for 18 months, then leave 6 months left on his contract where he can just walk away on a free. Makes no sense business-wise, but I'm on the other side of things. I think he could be very good for us, but it's down to him to prove he can be very good for us. It's not down to Crooksy to carry him through like he was trying. He obviously is trying to help him. Like you saw the first day back at pre-season, them hugging. Crooksy can only do so far. It's down to Martin to decide what he's going to do now. And I do think he's got the right attitude. People were saying that he's now broke up with his girlfriend and he's living here all alone and stuff. If that's the case, get to know your teammates more. Learn English. Get to know your teammates, and I'm sure if you get close with your teammates, the whole season will change for you. But going on, my next one, which is going to be controversial, is Paddy Mcnair. Paddy gives everything, but that's not. And he has been one of our better players over the past couple of seasons. But sometimes he looks like he's got the turning circle of an Arctic lorry. He gets caught out a bit, and no one really knows his best position. Like Neil Warnock said, he's a better central defender than he is a midfielder. Okay, that may be the case, but he's not the greatest central defender either. He is prone to errors and mistakes, and to silly red cards at the end of the season that he didn't need to get. But saying that, going back to what I said earlier, if Ben Gibson comes in, Paddy Mcnair wants to be playing for Ireland. He isn't going to sit on the bench. He doesn't want to sit on the bench. So when Wilder said there could be surprises, depending on who they get in, he could be one that goes. Now, you can't say his attitude's bad at all, but he could be one of these that Wilder was talking about when he said he needs a rocket up him. purely for the fact that he's going to now see Linehan's come in and think, that's a problem for me. And we'll have to wait and see. But as the season starts now, all right, Paddy got sent off last game, so he's banned anyway. But I don't think he'll be starting. I think he'll be sat on the bench, and he is not going to want to be sat on the bench. Another one who's not going to be sat on the bench is going to be Riley McGree. And you look at the midfield at the moment, he's not going to oust-Tav. And that's the position Walden bought him for. He isn't going to oust-Tav. The only way he's getting in that team over Tav is if we sell him. And then you've got House in Crooks. Again, Pierro's got to be pushing. But Riley McGree, he's got a World Cup to be going to now. Australia have qualified for the World Cup, so he's not going to want to be sat on the bench either. So he, again, is another player that probably needed that rocket of the fact of he's not guaranteed to be starting. He needs to be putting in more. Now, some games last season, he was brilliant. Other games, you forgot he was on the pitch. And it was his first season. He'd only been there a couple of months. He's still bedding in, so I don't want to be too harsh on him. And the games where he played well, he looked like he would be class. So that's the people that I think, when he was saying people need a rocket, I think that's the 3-4 people he was possibly talking about. Now, this brings me on to the last section, which is strikers and possibly incomings. Going to start off with David McGoldrick. When I was mentioning earlier about Facebook banter, I was talking about David McGoldrick in one of the chats. It's weird, you have like 3 or 4 people like, yeah, I completely agree with everything you're saying. And one person going, shut up, you idiot, you're not the manager, why don't you manage the club? And I'm like, well, 1, they wouldn't give me the job because they don't really know me. 2, I'll have a crack at it. I probably won't be any good, but I imagine we'll score a goal, she'll probably let some in. But it comes down to personal preference. The reason I was saying I'm not sure this is a great move. First one, the last 3 seasons he scored 15 goals. So he averages 5 goals a season. Now, Coburn and Watmore can average 5 goals a season. So I don't think it betters us in any way. I would imagine Uche could give us 5 goals a season. So I don't think that way it doesn't necessarily bring anything more than what we've got. Then you look at his best ever season, he scored 16 goals. If you could do that for us, fantastic. However, that was in League One playing for Ipswich. So, is it going to be... I think that season Ipswich went down, they stomped the league. So he was in a good Ipswich team, he scored 16 goals. Now, that's not a bad return by anyone's numbers. However, being 34 years old, not having a lot of starts the last few seasons either, scoring an average of 5 goals a season, and Wilder wants to play quick Wilder ball football. Is McGoldrick the right type of player for that? Is he going to be able to keep sprinting back and forward like Duncan Watmore does? Probably not. He's 34. He will probably come and be a bench player and brought on for impacts when we need to go. Now, I've got no issue with that. But when you've got, what is it, 6'4", 6'5", someone who looks like they filled out as well over pre-season or over the quiet season in Josh Coburn, it doesn't make any sense. I can see why they want to do it. He's free for a start. It was Wilder's, I think, first signing at Sheffield United, so Wilder knows him inside and out. And Wilder knows what he can get out of him. So I can see why. But I can also see, and my personal opinion is, I'm not sure. But again, unless he signs and plays for us, can't really judge. The last thing we need is, as much as it's harsh on the lad, is another Aaron Connolly. Wilder's obviously seen him play and thought, this guy would be good. He ran a lot. I'll give him that. He ran a lot. But his play in the final third at times was horrendous. Now, it doesn't help when you're coming on and getting booed by your own fans. But if you don't want to be booed by your own fans, step your game up, lad. So, it's one of them. We need someone who's going to score us goals. Now, other people we've been linked with, as I've seen on Twitter a lot, apparently people were asking if there's a Gail in Teesside at the moment. Dwight Gail is another one of these. He's 32, so he's 2 years younger. But you look at his goals, especially Championship. Last time he was in the Championship, he was on loan at West Brom and scored, I think it was 23 goals in 39 games, something like that. So you're looking at that. If he can perform to that level, but again, he's someone who's not played much football. Yeah, I think he played 8 times or came on as a sub 8 times for Newcastle last year. So it's one of them. He's got to get back up to speed. He hopefully wouldn't have lost his instincts in front of goal. But if you say out of those two, can either loan or buy Gail or McGoldrick, I would go Gail all day long. He's more proven at the level. We've been linked with another 2 strikers, which you've got Cameron Archer, who would be a loan from Aston Villa. Now, I've seen him playing like through the England youth teams and stuff. He looks like a good finisher. Saying that, so does Balogun. And look what happened with Flo last year. Now, I felt sorry for Flo by the end of the season. He went through a stage where I think he scored in 4 in a row for Borough. Went off to the under-23, scored, I think it was 3 goals in 2 games. Come back and found himself on the bench for the next 3 or 4 games. And he's probably sat there the same as a lot of Borough fans. We're thinking, why is Aaron Connolly starting over Flo Balogun? Flo Balogun gets you goals. He's got you assists. So if it was like got to the end of the window and we needed another striker, I would take Flo back. I think with better people, if Jones is back on the form he started with last season, if Ryan Giles is as good as people are saying, he's going to get the ball a lot more. He would score goals. So maybe if Cameron Archer comes in, he would just step up and do that because he would probably get more chances. Especially if you're looking at if Tav improves in, because Tav openly admits he needs to improve in that in the final third. And if Crooks steps up, or if Pierro or McGree come in and they can slot the passes, then we could be scoring a lot more goals this season. But you need a striker that's going to do it. And then the last striker that's been linked with us is Adam Armstrong. And that would be a loan from Southampton. Now, to me, out of the 4 strikers listed, this would be my go-to. He's big, he's strong, he knows where the goal is. All right, Southampton had a terrible season last year, so it wasn't great. But his last season in the Championship, he scored 28 goals, I think it was, in 40 games for Blackburn. So even if he scores half of that, he's going to score you 14 goals, guaranteed, which is more than any of our players scored last year. So I would be going after him. The problem is, apparently Watford want him as well. We all know the players, so I'll be like, oh, well, I like the bright lights of London and I want to live in that area. And yeah, fair enough. You go and play for Watford. Technically, they'll probably offer you more money because they've come down and everything else. But think about the status you can make yourself. If you scored goals that got Borough promoted to the Premier League, you would be like a Borough legend for the rest of your life. And no disrespect to Watford, but their fans aren't like the Borough fans. As the Borough fans proved last year with the away attendances and everything else, absolutely mental. They are, sorry, it's a helicopter. They are the best fans in the league and up there with the best fans in the country, if not the best fans in the country. I'm obviously going to say that, being a Borough fan. But it's one of them. I would like to see Adam Armstrong join us, and I would like to see, to be honest, I would like to see him, I don't know, maybe him, Archer and Gale, him, Archer and McGoldrick. I would take 3 of the 4 we're linked with, and hopefully that's what's going to happen. But in this day and age in football, I get why people want to go to London. Like, London, obviously the capital, the hub, there's a lot going on there. But you haven't got places where you've got the countryside of like the nicer areas where like the Yarm and bits of Stockton and things like that. You haven't got those places in London. London is just building after building. So, and stupidly expensive. But it's all going to come down to his personal choice. I'm hoping that if he speaks to Wilder, then Wilder can do what he did with Ryan Giles and Darragh Lenihan, and they'll be like, yes, I'm coming straight to you. But that's pretty much all I want to cover in this video. It's one of them. You don't want to be slagging players off that we haven't signed or that we could possibly sign. You don't want to be slagging players off that are at the club and or that have put a shift in. You guys let me know what you would want. Any position. Would you bring an extra midfielder in to cover Johnny? Maybe that young lad that we've been linked with from Chelsea, or the lad from Leicester. What strikers would you bring in? Where would you be looking in the market for strikers? Would you look abroad? What do you think about the left-sided centre-back? Do you think Lenihan can play there? Do you think that we're going to have to look further afield? Would you like Ben Gibson back or someone else to step in that position? Or do you think, no, keep Paddy there and I'll shut up, you don't know anything? Let us know down in the comments, guys. Remember, if you like this type of video, I will be trying to do once it rolls on another couple of weeks, and then another couple of weeks up until roughly when the window closes, I'll try and do videos. So let us know if you like this. I did a couple of videos last year for like an introduction into like Pierro at his old club. I wanted to do them again, but the problem is you ever use anything with Sky Sports and stuff like that, it just gets blocked straight away. So unless you want me dressed up in the kits with the names on the back running around like an idiot, not being able to play football. But let us know in the comments anyway. Let us know what you think of the video. Let us know who you want to bring in. And most of all, let us know where you think Borough will finish. I'm going to go with, from the look of things, if we can get a striker in that can get us, say, 15 goals, first or second. First or second all day long. There isn't a team in the Championship that scares me at the moment. And the fact that bookies have got Norwich as the favourites, I don't really get where that comes from. But that just could be, I don't really like Norwich, because I had to sit through 90 minutes at Wembley of one, Borough losing, but two, their fans just going, yellow, yellow, for 90 plus minutes. So I don't necessarily think Norwich is a good team, like how they got dismantled in the Premier League. But I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next one. Remember, like, share, subscribe. Everything helps this channel. We are all one family. We are the Borough. Catch you later.